24 दिसंबर 1999
काठमांडू से दिल्ली आ रहे इंडियन एयरलाइंस के विमान का आज अपहरण कर लिया गया है।
Plane was carrying 11 crew members and 179 passengers.
We were blindfolded, we all of us, with our heads down.
पैसेंजर हैं, उनकी सेफ्टी हमारी सबसे बड़ी प्रायोरिटी।
We have evidence to show that hijackers were encouraged by Pakistan.
On December 24, 1999, Indian Airlines flight YC-814 took off from Kathmandu bound for Delhi, a journey that usually takes no more than 2 hours. But for the passengers and crew aboard, this would be a journey like no other, one that would last 7 days and change Indian aviation forever. Five hijackers, armed and masked, would take control of the plane, forcing it off course. What followed was one of the most harrowing hijacking incidents in history, a nightmare that the entire nation watched unfold live on TV. As the passengers were enjoying their meals, 4 masked men stood up, seized control of the aircraft, and announced they had hijacked the flight. The hijackers stormed the cockpit, and at gunpoint, Captain Devi Sharan was ordered to change the plane's course, heading west. The hijackers were headed to Pakistan. The hijackers demanded $200 million in ransom and the release of several terrorists from Indian prisons. They threatened to kill the passengers unless their demands were met. The entire nation was on edge, watching the events unfold on their TV screens, holding their breath. By 4:40 p.m., Indian authorities were made aware of the hijacking. However, it wasn't until an hour later, at 5:20 p.m., that Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee was informed. By 6:04 p.m., the Indian Air Traffic Control ATC attempted to communicate with the hijacked plane. Captain Devi Sharan informed the ATC that the plane was running low on fuel and urgently needed to land. The hijackers demanded to land in Lahore, Pakistan. But the Pakistani authorities denied permission. Frustration grew on both sides. With no permission from Pakistan, the Indian authorities negotiated with the hijackers, eventually convincing them to land in Amritsar for refueling. This moment gave India a golden opportunity to regain control of the situation. But the Indian response was riddled with blunders. Punjab's Director General of Police, Sarabjit Singh, learned about the hijacking an hour late from the news. Meanwhile, at Amritsar, authorities tried to delay the plane's refueling, giving time for a rescue operation. But communication failures and poor coordination made matters worse. After several failed attempts to refuel the plane, the hijackers grew more desperate. They attacked a passenger, Satnam Singh, with a knife. The pressure mounted on the authorities. But no plan seemed to work. As the hijackers prepared to take off again, the Indian forces failed to act in time. At 7:49 p.m., despite the fuel tanker blocking their path, the plane took off, narrowly avoiding an accident. The National Security Guard, NSG commandos arrived just too late. Once again, the plane was airborne, heading back towards Pakistan. Pakistan denied the plane's landing once more, turning off all lights at Lahore Airport. In a final attempt, Captain Sharan was forced to land on a highway, but Pakistani authorities relented, allowing them to land in Lahore. The plane was refueled and surrounded by commandos, but the hijackers were determined. On the ground in Lahore, negotiations began with the hijackers. The Taliban offered to mediate, but no progress was made. The hijackers' demands only grew more outrageous, including the release of terrorists and a large sum of money. On December 26th, the plane made its way to Kandahar, Afghanistan, under the control of the Taliban. There, the hijackers and passengers would be trapped for the next 6 days. During this time, intense negotiations continued, with the Indian government under immense pressure. After days of talks, the hijackers finally reduced their demands. 3 terrorists were to be released from Indian jails. Despite strong opposition, the Indian government reluctantly agreed. On December 31st, the release took place, and the hijackers freed the passengers. As the plane touched down in India, the nation breathed a collective sigh of relief. The passengers were finally free, but many were injured, starving, and traumatized. The hijacking had left deep scars, and the failures of the Indian authorities were evident.